What's up, everybody? This is James with Mint Hunter Comics. I hope you saw the last video where I talked about those really sneaky 9.8s that have surprise value. Today we're going to talk about books that are so unassuming that they don't look like they could be crazy valuable, but wow, they are. You might have owned and maybe even thrown out these books that actually have a kind of crazy amount of value. Pop in the comments down below if you can think of any book that you thought was really just unassuming, you didn't think it would be anything, and holy crap, you really missed out on a payday. First one up is the first, second, and third print. It literally doesn't matter. Of Cry for Dawn, #1, first appearance of Dawn. I know nothing about this character, but I know that it's gold, man. It's the first print. If you can squeeze a 9.8, $1,300. Second print, $1,500. Third print, again around that $1,300. Every single version of this issue #1 is over $1,000 if you can get the perfect grade. This is from the same vein of the naughty covers, kind of like Good Girl covers if you're into that sort of thing. And I don't think that a lot of people were into that. That's kind of a very niche thing to collect. And this character and this line really fed to that. And you might have owned it. And you might have missed out on a nice payday. Action Comics 686, we're talking about the DC Universe logo variant. Action Comics 686 is a book that you'll probably find in dollar bins. The second print, which has the DC Universe logo variant, is considered by many to be the most rarest DC Universe logo variant of them all. And I've got the top 10 rarest ones memorized in case I ever find them in the wild. That is #1. If you can get a 9.8, you're looking at $3,000 for that book. You heard me right. Next up we're going to mention here is one that a lot of people had in their collections and just assumed it was nothing because it's an Archie book, and a lot of the Archie books are worth a penny. Well, this is Archie Girls, Betty and Veronica, $320. It's the introduction of Cheryl Blossom on the cover and inside story. Well, guess what? If you had one that retained a perfect shape and you got the 9.8, that silly book that you probably let slip through your fingers is about $2,300. How about Love and Rockets #1? Despite being an issue #1, you would assume that a lot of people tend to pick up #1s, that there would be a good amount out there. Not so much. There ain't so much of this more indie title here. In fact, if you have an issue #1 and it can climb its way all the way to a 9.8, you're sitting at about $4,000. Go ahead and check your indie 80s to see if that's one of them in there. You might be sitting on a little bit of gold. Next up is a personal favorite of mine because I was really surprised by the value of this. Aliens by Dark Horse. #1 is the first Alien in comics. Well, what's interesting about this is it's not like there's none on the census. There's a decent amount of them, not a crazy amount, but they exist. Despite that, it's like a $3,000 book if you can squeeze a 9.8 out of it. To those of you who started picking up a lot of Dark Horse stuff when they first came out, check to see if you've got Aliens #1, quite the value that associates with it. You might be sitting on something really nice there. How about Incredible Hulk 377? Already a fairly valuable book, but if it's that third print, you've got some crazy value. I forget the story exactly, how many were ordered, lost in shipping, something like that. Well, the third print's tough to find, and it's particularly tough to find in high grade. Still, I actually do know someone who has a 9.8. If you've got the 9.8, you've got $2,000. So check to see if your copy of 377 is that more off-colored, oddball-looking third printing. Not to be confused with the second printing. How about a book that is becoming a little bit more known now? It's Caliber Presents #1. It's that first appearance of the Crow. I actually have a buddy who has a 9.6 of this. But if you have a 9.8, you're looking at about almost $2,500. Not bad, man. It is an issue #1, so a lot of people do have them, but there's not an overwhelming amount of them on the census. And when I mean a lot of people do have them, for a more indie title, it was more picked up. The rarer one is the Crow #1, which we'll get to. The Crow #1. This one, unlike some of the rest of this list, is actually pretty popular. People tend to know this value, but at the time, if you had it, you probably didn't know it was going to be so big. And actually, it's about $9,000 if you get the perfect 9.8 out of it. It's got to be that 9.8 to reach those heights, but nonetheless, Crow #1, crazy numbers. Next up is from Comic Co. It's Primer issue #2. If it was an issue #1, I think more people would have it, but it's issue #2. It's the first Grendel in comics. It's actually a $6,000 9.8. If you've got it, check to see from your bins if you've got any Primer #2 from Comic Co. You might be sitting on a really nice book that you can trade and get a Hulk 181 for. That's right. Here's my favorite entry on the whole list. Superman, The Island Bradman. It was a weird one-off commission project by some wealthy business owner, commissioned a Superman comic for his son's bat mitzvah? Crap. Which one is it? I don't know. Well, anyway, there's like 1 or 2 on the census in the 9.8. I couldn't find the sales data for them, but judging on the trajectory of the 9.0, 9.2, and 9.4, it would probably place somewhere in between $6,000 to $9,000 for this incredibly rare private book. I believe there's like 100 out there. I don't know how anyone got their hands on it if it was such a private commission. You do see this from time to time, and it's very, very expensive. We're going to end it with the most recent book on the list. It's Batman 608, the start to the Hush storyline. You had Jim Lee doing the art. Well, we're talking about the retailer incentive. A lot of people know that cover to be the cover of one of the iterations of the graphic novel reprinting. Well, that cover, which first came on the retailer incentive, is wildly valuable and wildly rare. In fact, it actually adds up to be a $6,000 book. So, if that was one that you had, hopefully you held on to it, and hopefully you're not kicking yourself for letting it go. Another fun list to make for you guys. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and consider joining. That's how you can support the channel. It's $1.99 per month. You get access to membership perks, early videos, etc. I will see you at the next video. Keep on hunting.